Pepsi bottle, Coca-Cola glass. I don't give a damn. Good evening. It is Maury Mademoiselle again, weirdly enough, with another video. This is going to be my kind of half episode. So this would be episode 1.5 out of 2. So there'll be 3 episodes in this series, I suppose. So today I actually wanted to interestingly talk about a 4chan group called CGL. So whether you're new or old to the Lolita community, either you might have heard of it or you will at some point. Typically they're called Seagulls, kind of like a play on words of the letters C, G, and L, which stand for Cosplay Gothic Lolita. Now, this 4chan group, regardless of what the original intention was behind it, has kind of gained notoriety within the Lolita community as a form of, like, salt board. There is a huge Closet of Frills, like, master post where it seems that, you know, the uploaders go through and upload every single post that is posted to Closet of Frills. It looked like it was every single post. I'm not sure if there is a selection process in terms of that, but I did notice that it was a lot of posts. Some extremely good ones, and some extremely popular ones, and then some from new people, and etc. Like, basically nobody was spared. And I found it interesting because there was a lot to be said about a lot of these posts. Most of the posts, I would say, kind of go unnoticed. There aren't very many comments on certain posts, but then I noticed that some posts got more comments than others. And usually these are comments, like, these are posts that already have a fair amount of constructive criticism on their original counterpart on Facebook. But then some of them, for example mine, had, to the time of me recording, hasn't had any sort of constructive criticism on it. That is obviously not to say that it is a good chord by any means. In fact, it wasn't necessarily made to be a Lolita chord in the first place. It was actually for an interview that I had that day that I just decided to be a little bit more in the Lolita sphere. I definitely did some things that were a little bit considered experimental. Sometimes people would also classify it as a Lolita. I chose, and you saw it in my last video, it was the first video in this series that I wore it. It was a blouse that was off-brand. I had thrifted it before I started Lolita, and I decided to incorporate it as kind of like a more structured shirt for a little bit more of a textured JSK. The JSK was corduroy with a lot of lace detailing, and I wanted something a little bit more simple and subdued, but I didn't have any other blouses that I feel like would fit that role at the time. So I just decided to throw on a old chiffon blouse that I had, and you know, I thought it came out okay. Obviously I'm still learning, so perhaps in a couple years from now I'll look at it and go, oh no, sweetie, why would you do that to yourself? But, you know, mistakes happen, and we grow from them, and that's not something that we should necessarily either shy away from, which is the whole point of me making this series on taking constructive criticism. But it's also not something that we should, for lack of a better term, roast into oblivion. Now, a good roast is always, you know, can be very fun, granted that both of the parties are consensual and willing to participate. Now, when a minor is posted to CGL, I take a lot of problem with that. Minors should not be posted anywhere without their consent, and even using the "oh, but they posted it to Facebook" argument really falls apart when you read that the rules of the group say do not post anywhere else. Obviously they're all anonymous, so proving who took these, you know, who took these posts and posted them there would be very difficult, to say the least. However, I'm going to use my case as an example, because I have a friend who will remain nameless that has been relentlessly posted there, to the point where it's it's bullying, plain and simple. We're discovering that this person is actually within a lot of our group chats in our community, and obviously finding out who they are is no easy task, considering it could be somebody who is just lurking and that we can't identify. Now, going back to using my example as a point of reference, in my coordinate, that blouse that I was talking about earlier had gotten a lot of criticism, saying it was like, oh my god, a horrible blouse, or what thrift store did they desecrate, or something along those lines of going to some department store and basically taking the worst of the worst, or something like that. I don't really remember what the comment was. Now, the criticism in itself wasn't worded constructively at all, which, you know, it's to be expected on a board of 4chan, so I don't expect anything different, to be honest. But I just found it interesting that, you know, as I had said previously, that there was no criticism on my original coordinate, which I very clearly asked for. Every single post that I post, I will 99% of the time say concrete is appreciated as always. And I felt like that would have been a very useful comment for me to have in a public setting where I could address it as such. Obviously, I would word it extremely differently. But, you know, how are we expected to grow if we are not offered this constructive criticism? I found that interesting that they also made a few comments about me starting YouTube videos, which I found extremely interesting, because I was like, well, what better topic for an aspiring YouTuber to cover than the thread that essentially made fun of me for aspiring to be a YouTuber, excuse me. So here I am talking about it. But I just want to let anybody know, especially to my friend who had this happen to them. CGL comments about you do not matter. They are not said to you. They are not said in any sort of constructive space, and therefore they don't matter. They should never diminish your quality of life. They should never diminish who you are as a person, and they should never diminish your desire to stay within the community. I 1,000,000% know that is easier said than done. Throughout my entire life, I was extremely bullied throughout school. The reason why I bring this up is because I don't want what happened to me to happen to anybody else. I feel like I've grown a lot as a person, and I'm a lot more readily available to take constructive criticism and even negative criticism, and kind of use it to my advantage. But I 1,000,000% understand if you are hurt by any of these things, by no means are you invalidated. And, you know, even though I said that these comments do not matter, it is not saying that they do not hurt. They do hurt, and I have firsthand witnessed and also secondhand witnessed the impacts that they could have. People who want to quit wearing the any alternative fashion, especially Lolita in this case, or, you know, just stopping to basically do anything that they're interested in for fear of ridicule. That is not okay, and you are 100% valid in feeling negative and feeling upset about those kind of comments. You are no less of a person for feeling affected. I just want to let you know that these people who remain anonymous, who do not want to speak with a face to their name or any sort of identifier to them, those people's opinions do not matter. They are mean-spirited, and whether they have something going on in their life or they don't, and they just find a pleasure of making other people feel bad or just venting in an anonymous forum, doesn't excuse the fact that their words do hurt the people that they aim them at. And I think that, you know, it's a very sad thing that Lolitas, especially recently, have worked very hard to make our community as inclusive as possible, whether it is for minority groups or LGBT or any sort of other group that you typically encounter. I personally believe that this community is one of the most welcoming in terms of experimentation and onboarding, if you will, for anybody who's new. Now, that being said, I think that, you know, ignoring it is difficult to do, and it 100% is a morbid curiosity that we have, that we want to see the negative things that people share about us. Which, you know, honestly is why I wanted to see the post about myself. But, you know, it's one of those things that I wish that somebody would have constructively told me these things in my post rather than behind my back. But at that point, there's really nothing I can do. It has been said, it has been done, and the chances of somebody either admitting to it or coming forward and rewording their comments into a constructive comment to tell me either privately or through my post would be extremely slim, and I would basically say it would be a near zero impossibility. That's not to say that, you know, we should allow this to exist. Personally, I believe that 4chan does have a time and place, and it can be very fun, but it can also be extremely detrimental to the communities that you're a part of, which is why I wanted to talk about it today. I wanted to let everybody who's watching this know, if you've ever been posted or if you ever are posted to 4chan and you feel extremely hurt by the comments that are left on there, either based on your physical appearance or any sort of, you know, otherism that you might have, even down to, you know, just saying the things about your outfit are hurtful, you are welcome in our community. And I'm not going to claim that I speak on behalf of every single Lolita who's ever existed and ever will exist, but at least to me, you are welcome, you are included, and you are loved, regardless of whether today was your first ever attempt or if you've been in the fashion for 10 years and still continue to receive negativity. We are all here to help each other, and that is why I am making this series on constructive criticism. I think it's extremely important that we learn how to speak to each other and to react to each other. It's a very important topic for me to cover, and I really do hope that you stay along with me for my journey, whether it is just to the end of this series or, you know, to the end of my YouTube career, which hopefully lasts a while. This is just a channel where I want to express my thoughts, my opinions. At least from now on, I want to make 1000% sure that I do everything in my power to provide a welcoming experience to all Lolitas. And, you know, as to put it the way Rose Nocturnalia has put it, another YouTuber that I very much do enjoy, would be, the Lolita community has a salt problem. However, it's a minority of us, a vocal minority though it may be. I believe that I would say most of us are good people, and we just sometimes have a hard difficulty and a hard time expressing the things that we want to do in a constructive way. I hope that my next video, giving constructive criticism, is useful for some people. But other than that, I want to again thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and I really, really hope to see you in the future. So it would mean the actual world to me if you subscribed and you liked my content, if you want to stick around. And I would like to hear from you. Let me know in the comments down below if you've had any sort of either negative experience, including 4chan, but not necessarily limited to. I want to hear from you. I want to know, you know, what are your methods for coping with it? I just want to help as many people as possible, and I don't want to see anybody be turned away or want to quit because of something that an anonymous or non-anonymous person decided to tell them. So anyway, I'm going to go back and enjoy my Betis and in my Coca-Cola blows. and I wanted to thank you. Have a wonderful night, guys. See you later.